Hey, I'm Paul. Welcome to Roast the Post, the story behind the bullet points. I read job postings like an x ray for how a company actually works. And every week, Jen and I take a real one apart to see what it's really asking and what lurks beneath the surface. Let's roast this post. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Roast the Post. It is kind of cool, Jen. This week, we have our very first listener submitted post. This came in from Ryan in Peterborough, Canada. So we're going to get into it. It's for a chief of staff role, which we've done chief of staff role before, but this one's kind of fun. It's a little bit capitalist finance run amok. It's a little bit crazy. There's a little bit of honesty in it. I think you're going to like it.
I'm looking forward to this. Thanks so much, Ryan, for submitting. I cannot wait.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. All right, so this is Chief of Staff, like I mentioned. We'll start off with the roasty profile. This is just kind of what the job ad is. So, title of the job, Chief of Staff, reports to the founder. This company is 11 to 50 employees. The industry that they're in is investment management. And what do? Well, they facilitate acquisitions of and investments in small businesses throughout North America. Their head office location is in New York, New York. The job location is remote anywhere in North America. The geographical operating area is North America. And the type of job is permanent, full time. So that is the chief of staff role that we are going to be talking about. This job ad has a few different sections in it. There is an about the job section that has a section where it describes the company, has another section where it describes the role, has another section describing what you'll own, and that's verbatim from the job post. Another section is called your first 90 days. Another section is who you are. Another section is what we offer. Another section is a few honest words. And the final section is how to apply. So I've gone through and I've read this job post end to end. I've kind of highlighted some things that I want Jen to kind of talk about a little bit. We're going to banter about it. She has not seen this job ad yet. We're going to go through it sight unseen, score it. And then at the end of the show, Jen and I will talk a little bit about the bigger picture after she's had a chance to read through the job ad. So first thing, Jen, that really stuck out for me is this. And this is in a section called the role. So they're describing what the job actually is. You'll do the work yourself first, build the systems to scale it, then hand it off cleanly as you take on higher leverage work. And this is a chief of staff role. Does anything come to mind for you when I say that?
No, no, I think I'm just still wrapping my head around all of those different sections, because some of them were so odd. So I think I'm just still in that mindset. Um, I mean, so you'll do the work first, build the systems, hand it off so you can do other stuff. Is that basically what they're saying?
Yeah, it seems to me that that's kind of what they're saying. And this is this is a chief of staff role. And chief of staff, it can mean different things, right? Like a chief of staff can be a chief of staff, like
Yeah.
responsible for people. But it really seems to me in this job role that it's not really a you're leading a whole bunch of people type of chief of staff job. It seems very, very hands-on with systems and strategy. So I kind of wonder if there's something there that might be a little bit weird. Like if you're required to kind of herd all of the cats and be the person doing the work and building, like is that going to be a lot? Is it going to be too much?
Yeah, I mean, I see like chief of staff roles to me are really interesting because in essence, are kind of meant to be the CEO's right-hand person, is my understanding. I see it even though it's called chief of staff, I see it less as like uh, managing people type role or being in charge of the staff type role and more like the right hand person for the CEO. So for me, I don't know that anything in that first part has stood out to me as odd, but it must have for you. What's weird to you there?
That by itself doesn't say a whole lot to me. That one sentence where it says you're going to do the work yourself first, prototype it really, and then hand it off cleanly. That itself doesn't really say much of anything. But I thought it was perhaps a little bit weird to kind of put that in with a chief of staff.
Mm,
Right, like, I would figure that, if you're building systems, stress testing them, and then training other people and handing off, that you're not really a chief of staff, like, you're more like an operations lead or a director of something or other, like, there was a little bit of kind of strangeness there for me, but a
yeah.
small organization, 11 to 50 people, right? So,
And
like, a lot of people wearing a lot of hats.
this is the thing, and this is why I think that this is our second chief of staff role that we're roasting so far. And I don't think it's our last. I think everyone has a different definition of the chief of staff role and what it means. So it's not a surprise to me that, there's disconnect between what this role actually is. I think from org to org, I think it's going to vary. I think some people are like, oh, it's a glorified EA type role, or some people think it's, a role that knows the intricacies of the organization, can step in for the CEO in terms of like in place during a meeting or something like that, is like a CEO whisperer, can translate the CEO's vision and then get everyone else to act on it and everything. So I don't know. I think it varies so widely. I was just reading a chief of staff job posting not too long ago, and they were asking about specific type of coding skills and like what type of
Mm.
coding language you need to use. And I was like, it's a chief of staff role. Like, what are they coding? So it's kind of like what you're saying too. Like, what is the work that they're actually going to be doing? What is this company's understanding of the chief of staff role? Because it is, I think, all over the place.
Yeah, and you think about the chief of staff roles in political organizations too, right?
Yes.
Like that's also very different. If you're the chief of staff for a political campaign, you're you're kind of like a movie producer. You're just making all the things happen.
Yeah.
But it's a very powerful role. Still different from kind of what we see in the business world from a chief of staff. Let's move on to the next thing that kind of stood out for me a little bit. This is in the what you'll own section. And for the folks at home, hit the show notes if you want to read the full job description and kind of follow along. We've got a link to the job description there. It's on the episode page. So, if you want to follow along, that's what to do. Anyway, the next section, what you'll own, this is the first thing that stood out for me. And kind of verbatim, it reads, be the founder's force multiplier. Drive prioritization, prep, and follow through so decisions don't stall. Turn strategy into execution. When something's falling through the cracks or a project needs someone to drive it home, that's you. That's what it says.
So this is where we
Thought.
go to like the herding cats part thing that you're talking about. Like basically, I hope that this person has a lot of like influence in the organization and that authority to move forward, because yeah, if things are falling through the cracks, that's you, and it's under like what you own section. So like if people aren't pulling their weight, if people are dropping the ball, that's your responsibility to get them back on track. Makes me wonder how, I can't remember if we talked about the size of the org. I think it's relatively small, right?
Yeah, 11 to 50 people.
Yeah, because it just makes me wonder about the structure, if there are managers, things like that, because project managers or anything to where that ownership should live, not necessarily with this chief of staff role. So I think that that's really interesting as well.
hmm hmm Yeah, I this reading this statement really, it sounds to me like the chief of staff is, you said it, number two to the CEO. It also a little bit sounds like in practice, the chief of staff is actually going to have more power than the founder. Like the only person that has power or authority over the chief of staff is going to be the founder and CEO. But from the day-to-day running of the organization, it really sounds like this chief of staff is going to be connected to kind of everything and everyone
Yeah.
everywhere. So they'll have a lot more operational power than even the CEO, which I find very, very interesting.
I do want to note too that we've said a few times that we keep saying CEO, and in this case, it's reporting to the founder.
Yeah.
But in larger organizations, there are chief of staffs for like departmental chief of staffs as well. So it's not always a CEO, but it's just worth noting for this situation. We're being very specific about this role, but yeah, it does sound like they will have a lot of responsibility, I guess. I still go back to whether or not they have that authority. But if they're
Mhm.
saying if the section is called what you own, then to me that does read as though you're going to have that authority too. This like lives and dies with you. So yeah.
Yeah, I would kind of like to sit down with the person who wrote this job ad and ask them why they chose to title this role chief of staff instead of chief operating officer
I was
or something like
it
that.
sounds like ops. Yeah.
So this to me, like so far, it reads like this is a COO in a small company that's very hands-on. Like that would make perfect sense to me.
And here's the thing, this is why I was curious about like their reporting structure, their org chart, because if they already have someone in an ops role, like the lines are going to get crossed. This is going to be, these two roles are going to be butting heads constantly. And if they don't already have that role, then why do chief of staff before you do the ops role? Like that's an interesting choice.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Next, the next point in this section that stuck out to me that I wanted to put in front of you. So again, this is what you'll own, the section in the job ad. It reads, unblock the business, jump into live issues, in brackets, pipeline bottlenecks, team gaps, member escalations, and members are customers in this context, like the company's customers, process breakdowns, and brackets, and move things forward without waiting for permission.
Okay. So this company has a lot of problems. There are a lot of issues. This is a fixer. This is a fixer role. I don't feel like it's necessarily a chief of staff role. I think that you would get pigeonholed very quickly into being the fixer. And I don't know how that like grows you. I don't know how you're learning like the ins and outs of the business itself when you're basically fixing all the problems. Like the language is very, very clear. They're speaking to problems that they experience in their organization, bottlenecks and roadblocks and fall through the cracks and all this stuff. So to me it's not appealing personally. Luckily they're not asking me to take this job, but it sounds like so far when you read through job postings, when you're reading really carefully, and like what we're trying to do here is a good example of that, some of them are really negative.
Mhm.
You read it and you think to yourself, this sounds shitty. I don't know that I would want to do all of this. Sounds hard. And so far you can read that there's a lot of, you would be doing a lot of negative type stuff. You would be doing a lot of like nagging and pleading and asking and convincing and fixing. And that's just so unappealing to me.
And to layer in on top of what you're saying for a little bit more context, this is in the investment management
Mhm.
industry. So we're kind of talking about like finance, and finance does not have a reputation for being kind and cuddly.
Yeah, yeah. So when you go to those people and you're pushing them and nudging them and all of those things that we said, like you're going to be met with a lot of resistance, which is why this is why they want this role, but they want someone to do it for them, because whatever they're doing now ain't working.
Yeah, I think you're very much on point. Like when I read that sentence, to me it stood out as like your job is to go in and unfuck the clusterfuck.
Yes, yes. It should
And
be
some
called
people,
chief of unfucking.
yeah, the chief of unfucking. That'd be a great job title for this.
So appealing.
Some people are awesome at that. Some people really, really, really excel at that.
True.
But I really wonder if the chief of staff branding is going to help or hurt in their search for that person. Like that kind of sticks out to me quite a bit.
This is a good point, because if you are the chief of staff and you're going to go unfuck all of their stuff for them, and say it is like the customers or the clients or whatever, and they're like, and who are you again? You're the chief of staff, right? Like what kind of weight and authority does that role carry? When we at the top of this episode talked about the dissonance that this type of role experiences, like there's kind of like this general, I don't know, the role just is whoever thinks, like, can't even talk right now. Whoever decides like what the role is, that's what the role is.
Yeah, it's even if you have internally that authority, right, amongst the people in your organization, everybody in your organization knows that the chief of staff, like, it's the poobah. They have the authority. Are they going to have perceived authority outside of the organization? So if you're having difficult conversations with investors or members, and they're like you said, like, so you're the chief of staff, can you actually fix this problem? Is
Yeah.
that going to hold you back when you're trying to solve these problems that this organization kind of has?
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the next section. So this section is, I basically highlighted everything in this section.
Mhm.
This section is your first 90 days. So this
Okay.
is all bullet points. The first one is basically, it says, verbatim, you won't ease in. Here's what you'll tackle immediately. And then bullet points. Hiring. Own recruiting for key roles across the business, from scoping to sourcing to closing. Next bullet point, coaching efficiency. Leverage AI to improve how our coaches operate, reducing manual work and increasing client impact. Next bullet point, new product or service launch. Scope, validate, and begin building out a new AI-powered product or service offering that extends our platform's value to members. You'll own it from concept through early delivery. Next bullet point, sales team AI uplift. Deploy AI tools to score calls, surface coaching opportunities, and recover revenue gaps across our sales team. Final bullet point, investor intelligence. Build systems to identify and prioritize high potential investors in our ecosystem for.
What?
You have thoughts. You have thoughts.
I started writing notes and then I just stopped because I was like, oh, like, were they writing a chief of staff job description and they tripped and fell and landed into like a puddle of sales and coaching and HR, and like, what is happening? This is absolutely, and I'm really curious about Ryan setting this in, and what, if they gave any context or their own thoughts about this, because obviously it stood out enough for a listener to send something in.
I
Kudos.
feel like this section is why.
Yeah, this section is why. Kudos to finding this job and sending it in. I don't even know what to say. I'm curious. They mentioned coaching a few times. Do you know what the context is for that? Like,
Yes. Yeah. So, and that would become apparent if you had read the entire job posting ahead of time, but which we don't do because it's more fun for the show.
yeah.
A part of their business model is to have coaches working directly with members who buy businesses. So these folks are managing the investment, basically buying up SMEs across North America for people who want to, sell them, and people who want to buy them. They're like a matchmaker.
SMEs?
Small, medium enterprise, small businesses. So this organization has just a whole bunch of listings for companies that are up for sale, that are kind of like mom and pop indie sort of thing.
Okay.
Then on the buy side, they've got buyers who come in, and buyers could be private equity, could be private investors, could be people who just want to run a business and have some cash. So they kind of facilitate that deal making in the middle. And then a part of their business is they have coaches that work with the buyer to integrate them into the business and help things kind of roll along smoothly. So when they're talking about coaches, they're talking about those people.
Okay. Is it kind of like an ETA fund, like entrepreneurship through acquisition type?
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. But they have a part of their business is they have an investment arm, so they'll do some investments themselves.
Right.
But then they also have an affiliate PE firm that sometimes participates,
Okay.
sometimes doesn't. And then they have this coaching thing. It's like the third leg of their business model. So it's quite a bit like me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. This is, to me, they didn't know what to call this role. And for obvious reasons, they didn't want to say, like, we're hiring for like a clusterfuck. So we're gonna call it a chief of staff role. Like, I think this is what this is. They basically need so many things, but they're like, what is the title for this? Let's call it a chief of staff. This is not a chief of staff. Like I just can't even, I'm a little bit stunned, and I'm really sorry I keep swearing a lot. We're recording this on a Monday. Paul and I were talking
This
about how tired we both are.
this episode is absolutely getting the explicit label.
Yeah, so sorry. My apologies, everyone. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. It's not a chief of
Yeah.
staff. It's a junk drawer role.
Yep. It's when you're saying, and they'll have a challenge finding someone who excels at all these areas.
Yes.
Because you want someone who's going to do hiring and people managing and develop new monetizable products in the finance industry, like in the investment kind of management industry, and build and deploy AI tools, and build and deploy intelligence tools for your general partners. That's something.
Well, it makes me wonder, what are the other 11 to 50 people in the company up to? Because why is this person responsible for so many things? On top of
Right.
that, remember what we talked about, like what you'll own. This is like the first 90 days, and they even say explicitly you won't ease into it. Like you got to hit the ground running. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Getting all of those things listed accomplished in 90 days. Good luck.
I will say I do like the idea of a first 90 days section in a job posting. I've seen those before, like your first 90 day or your first 30 days, your 60 days, 90 days. I don't mind that. We've talked about this before though. Like I would, to keep it brief, to keep the most important things. I don't think that that's the most important thing. I think that can come out in the interview. I would rather focus on, attracting candidates. This is not attractive. So I don't know why. I guess they're trying to filter out people who aren't going to take it seriously. They want like go-getters and like entrepreneurial mindset and all that stuff. So I guess that's what they're trying to do here. But it doesn't make for an attractive job posting.
That's a really great segue into the next point that stood out for me. So this is in a section titled "Who You Are," and verbatim it says, "An entrepreneur at heart.
There you go.
Think like a founder. You see opportunities before they're obvious, move on them without being asked, and take full ownership of outcomes." So I think that sentence reinforces what you were just saying, and
Yeah.
probably ties into what you were thinking before. But seeing it out there in the job ad, does that kind of add anything for you, or is it just like, yeah, that kind of backs up what I was saying?
That backs up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the next thing that stood out for me then in this same section, "Who you are," you're AI obsessed. You don't just use AI tools. You are the person who finds them first, stress tests them, and figures out how to deploy them before anyone else.
Hmm.
Does that make you have thoughts?
It makes you have thoughts because you gave me some eyes when you said that. I mean, uses them before anyone else. It makes me feel like they don't have like an AI policy or process, because how would you know if you're using, like, do they mean before anyone else internally, before anyone else like in the world? They want you to like wake up, brush your teeth with AI, wipe your butt with AI, AI.
Yeah, this job ad really reads like it's not just an AI policy that they don't have. I feel like there's a lot of policy and process that they don't have.
Oh yeah.
And small organization, 11 to 50. Like
But they
if this
can
is
use,
literally 12 people,
yeah,
I get it. If it's 50, you should have some of your stuff figured out.
absolutely. But they can use AI to build all those policies. Do
Sure.
all of
Yeah,
that.
why not? Why not? Yeah, for me, this one just kind of adds to that whole idea that you're looking for, as you described, a junk drawer person to come
Yes.
in. Like it reads like you want the best of the best of the best to come in, but all of the things are just cobbled together and like they're duct taped together. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It's very interesting too, because they are clearly really like crushing hard on AI, which is totally fine, whatever. I can't wait to find out whether or not they have an AI disclaimer about whether or not they use AI for their screening and like recruitment and interview process. So that will be interesting. And I would also be curious, like when you ask people to act like a founder and have an entrepreneurial mindset and things like that, I should hope then that you have a really good compensation structure to reflect that ask, because it's reciprocal, right? You're asking this person to basically, if you're wanting them to be like a founder, that's putting their whole life into this work and to put it
Mhm.
first. So you better pay for that, and that should include shares in the company or whatever that looks like. So yeah, curious to see if they include any of that information.
Yeah, we will absolutely get to that.
Okay.
Next thing that stood out to me is it's who you are again. You've had 3 to 7 years in a startup, high growth, or consulting environment. You've operated in fast moving companies and know what good looks like. And then there's kind of a sub point to that that says you thrive in constant context switching. You can juggle 10 plus priorities and still execute with precision.
Ooh. Do
Yeah.
they supply the cocaine or do they have to buy it themselves?
Well, this is New York finance, right? So I'm sure it's all
And
over the place.
then it's everywhere. It's just like in gumball machines at the entrance of the office at the reception. Um, so I mean, that is again, this goes back to what I just said. That is a big ask. Like you have to be able to do everything all the time and do it perfectly. Which like sure, we want people to do their job and do their job well. That's what we're paying them for. But like this to give this whoever wrote the job posting, and I'm guessing it's AI because even though it doesn't sound like it, but even though they love their AI so much, they're being honest. But that there's still a section, I have it written down that you said a few honest words. So they're being very, very honest about what it's going to be like and what they want. So at least there's that.
Yep. Yep. This is definitely for me reinforcing that you are going to be kind of always on.
Yeah.
You're going to be stretched and challenged, and there isn't going to be a lot of tolerance for kind of learning or
Right.
for screwing up or for things not going kind of the way that they're intended to go. Like it's really standing out to me to be like a kind of a fire pit that's you might fall into it pretty pretty
Yeah.
easily.
That's such a good point. I love that you said like that there's going to be little to no tolerance. It screams that. That is such a good point. Yeah.
Mm. The next section is what we offer, and a couple of things stood out for me here too.
Okay.
I'm going to read the second one first. Direct access to the founder. You'll work alongside the CEO daily and collaborate closely with the leadership team.
I mean, lucky. Wow. You mean they get direct access to the person they're reporting to?
I know, right? That stood out for me too. Like that's a benefit. Isn't that just a part of the job? Like is this
Yes.
person? I don't know. Maybe this person is just awesome, and you want to be around them all the time. This founder. Maybe they're kind of like hanging out with Jerry Seinfeld at the coffee shop or something. You're just gonna have a blast. Like who knows?
Jerry Seinfeld.
I'd want to hang out with Jerry Seinfeld if I was in that mindset and I wanted to do
What is
nothing for a
happening?
year.
It's time for me to take a sip. I think we've got the Historicos.
Absolutely, we have the Historicos.
No, that sounds
Uh,
hilarious. Like I putting that as a benefit, like direct access to the person that you're reporting to is wild.
yeah. The other thing that stood out for me, and you will like this, that they offer competitive base salary depending on experience, plus significant performance based upside. And to answer your question, no, they did not list a salary range. So we don't know what competitive base is. We don't know what performance-based upside is. And they didn't have a disclosure about use of AI. Now, New York State, maybe they don't have to. So maybe they're not doing anything wrong there. But they're not telling you anything about the kind of money that you can earn here.
Is there a benefits section too, or that was it? That was
No, ma'am.
So yeah, there's a huge, like, this is what we mean. This is why Paul and I started this podcast, because you are going to learn everything you need to know about this company, about the culture by this job posting. They're telling you everything you need to know. Like, that's it. You walk into this place and you cannot be shocked. Like, yeah, wonderful.
And some people will they will love this. They will love this type of job because it aligns with their personality and their values and whatnot. But if there's any misalignment between what you are and what you want and this place, it'll be awful. Like you will fall apart. The episode that we roasted for the designer and the agency, where on Glassdoor they said toilets are not suitable for the amount of time you'll spend crying in them. This got some vibes of that.
Oh, big time. Absolutely. Like this, and it screams to me like a type of bro culture, like you said, finance culture type thing where like work hard, play hard. And there's no talk about how they care for you. Right? There's no, again, like you said, they don't talk about the pay or anything like that. There's no talk about any other benefits. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be working nonstop. What are they doing then to support that so it can be more realistic and sustainable? Nothing.
Mm-hmm. And just for fun, I'm going to read out the how to apply section.
Right.
So how you can apply: send your resume with a short Loom video, 2 to 3 minutes, to email address with the subject line, "I'm your chief of staff," and then tell us why this role excites you and what makes you the right person. We value clarity and directness. Show us how you think, not just where you've worked.
Oh, wow. I do. Okay. I do like show us how you think. I think that is actually really important. And I've said that
Great
before.
guidance.
How do you differentiate yourself, right? When everyone's sending in very similar resumes. So I like that. Don't love sending a video of yourself into the void. They don't talk about like timelines when you'll hear back from them next, what the next steps look like or anything like that. I've kind of like, I kind of want us to write an AI generated script applying, and then one of us, probably you, let's be honest, sends in the video and applies for the role to see if you get a call back for a callback, like it's an audition, because that's what it feels like. It's an audition for this. That would just be fascinating to see. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we've
Not doing that, but
we've talked about this before a little bit too, right? About how it's very easy to introduce bias, subconscious bias, into the hiring process. And for me, like telling the candidate to send in a video in their first kind of round, that seems to me to be like just a bias magnet, right? Like you're going to introduce so much bias just by the very nature of having a video be a part of that. Like before, and I'm sure that the people who are reviewing these are going to watch the video before reading anything that you've written.
Yeah.
So like you're starting with the bias rather than starting with how the person thinks. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And no accommodation, no anything like that. I agree. I really like a good old fashioned phone screen for people. And I know you can't, like, this is asking them to, the first step is a video. Like that's wild to me. But I agree. I think that we're human. You're going to make up your mind the moment you press play, and it's going to depend on what the person looks like. It's going to depend on their gender, whether or not they have an accent. There are so many things that come into play. But it doesn't surprise me. That sounds like on the nose for this company. So yeah.
So folks, we are going to take a very brief intermission. Jen and I are both going to read the job ad through and through. ourselves, and then we're going to come back with our scores. So hang on to the seat of your pants. Okay, and we are back. That means it is time to score this damn thing. Jen, what did you think? Score out of 10.
I'm giving this job posting a 0 out of 10. It's the lowest rating I've ever scored. If I could give it like minus something points, I would. Heinous. This is heinous. It's a crime against humanity, and I won't have it. And I will do nothing about it but complain.
Tell us why. Tell us why. 0 out of 10. That's pretty extreme.
I mean, there is not a shred of humanity in this job posting. So you shared with me kind of the things that stood out to you. And then, like you mentioned, I finally got to see it and read through it. And it's like I can't even believe that something like this is real. It's so bad. One of the lines that stood out to me was this role is intentionally broad and demanding. You'll learn more in 1 year than most people do in 5. And they're writing it as though they're doing you a favor. No, this is on purpose. This is intentional. You're doing all of these things, working wild hours and everything, because this is for you. This is a learning opportunity for you. Like, bullshit. Are you kidding me? So, not buying it. I'm not picking up what they're putting down. And then, like, you'll learn more in 1 year here than most people do in 5. But how? By doing? By failing? Truly, there's not a shred of humanity in this job posting. There's another part that says high EQ, low ego. But then when you read the role and what's expected, that's not possible. You need someone who is like egotistical maniac to do this role. So to say that you need to have like a high emotional intelligence, but low ego, and then do all the things you're asking a person to do, that's who I would like to know who lands this role, who they choose, because it's just not possible. And they say this role is not for everyone. We'd rather be upfront about that. That's great. They say they move fast, work is intense, and then they say closer to 8 to 7 than 9 to 5. Close to 8 to 7 than 9 to 5. Like, they're talking about the hours worked. It's not going to be 8 to 7 either. The clock isn't just going to magically stop at 7 p.m. It's going to be 24/7. And at what cost? Again, they're not even listing the things that they're doing in order to support that. It would be one thing if they were like, this is hard. We're not going to bullshit you. This is going to be a really tough job. It's very much a specific person who can thrive in this environment. And we're going to do everything we can to help you thrive. You are going to have this support, and this is the pay, and these are the benefits, and blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't even have any of that. So they're just basically saying, like, hand over your life to us, and you're lucky because you get access to the founder. And you're learning. So you should be grateful. Yeah, that's why it gets a 0. That and so many more reasons is why it gets a 0 out of 10 from this gal.
I was more generous with this. Much more generous.
What was redeeming to you? Sorry, what?
So I scored this a 6 out of 10.
Paul, no.
And the reason that I scored this a 6 out of 10 was that this is a case of the job ad and the job being fundamentally different things. And the job ad, I scored a 6 out of 10. The job I would score like a -5 billion.
Okay, fair.
Job, oh my god. But the job ad itself, I like the way that they organized this. There was more kind of honest description of what it would be like in this job ad than I think any
True.
that we looked at so far. Like this, there was a whole lot of honesty in this. I think they were still obscuring a few things, but there was a lot more honesty about the nature of this work than in other ads. I thought that was great. It was easy to read through structurally, like the way that they broke the job ad down was good. I like that. They were very clear that this wasn't going to be for everyone, and they talked a little bit about so where you took, you'll learn more in a year here than you would in a century somewhere else. For you, that read as very negative. For me, I kind of read that as a positive because
Mhm.
it does to me say that this environment is very fast paced and dynamic, as much as we hate those words, but it does mean that you'll be kind of pressure cooked, and you'll be forced to learn very, very quickly. You'll be forced to make decisions, and you'll be forced to hoover up knowledge, or else you'll fail permanently and kind of like flame out. So some people, that's great. For some people, absolutely fantastic. And them saying going into it, like, this is what it's going to be, like, kind of gave them credit for that. Now, there was a bunch of stuff I didn't like about this, a ton of stuff I didn't like. They didn't talk about comp at all. So, and you also brought up that they mentioned this was going to be an 8 to 7 kind of job, not a 9 to 5. 8 to 7's BS. This will be a 9 9 6. This
Yep.
will be 9 to 9, 6 days a week, like
Yep.
is common in a lot of tech companies in China, and they've been heavily criticized for. This is going to be that. It'll be a 9 9 6.
Yeah. So just say that. I mean, you're honest with everything else, so just say that too.
Yep. Yep. No set hours. You're going to work a ton. It'll be 100 hours a week, blah, blah, blah. You probably can't say that even in New York, that it's going to be 100 hours a week, but it's what it is.
But
So
then see, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. And here's how.
yep. Yep. And the here's how part, especially in New York finance, is the comp. They didn't
Yeah.
list comp. They didn't tell you what you would be making on base or what the incentive-based stuff, the performance-based stuff would look like. And sure, there's time for that later, of course, but why would I even put in the effort to apply for this job if I don't have a sense of what it's going to be? Like 11 to 50 people, that kind of suggests that the base is going to be on the low end, right? And this job, the way it was written, I'm not even giving it a second thought unless I'm making at least 400 US a year to do this. That
Yeah.
would be my number to even consider this job.
Yeah.
So if you're not in that ballpark, you're not getting me. And I would probably be able to do this job really well.
Yeah. Well, Paul, you're a generous king because I just cannot. I get what you're saying though, and I totally appreciate the differentiation between job design and the job posting. And obviously I'm like combining, mixing the two. But I think for me, that's just how I'm going to read them, right? It is
Yeah.
about that for me, and I appreciate that it's a little bit of a different read for you. But fascinating. Again, thank you to Ryan who sent it in. Is that the name? Yes.
Yep, absolutely. Ryan sent this in. Ryan, man, you are a godhead. We appreciate that you sent this to it because it was crazy.
Oh, such a good one. That was such a gift. I really, really appreciate this one. Yeah.
So that's it for this one. I think we can consider this roasted. Jen gave a 0 out of 10. I gave a 6 out of 10. Oh boy, let the comment section just open up on this one. We'll see you next week, folks.
Glad you could spend some time with us on Roast the Post, the story behind the bullet points. If today's episode helped you make sense of the hiring landscape, or at least feel less alone in navigating it, don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on YouTube or follow the show on whatever podcast app you trust with your sanity. We're always looking for interesting job postings to break down. So if you've got one, whether it's surprisingly good or impressively confusing, send it in. Listener submissions keep things spicy. Follow that link in the show notes for more. Thanks again for listening. Catch us next time when we take on another posting that definitely has something to say.